Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a close look at, well, something pretty unique, I think. It's a service inside Entropia Universe, and, for those who don't know, that's a huge online game.
Right, it's massive.
Yeah. And you can travel between planets in it. You can even make real money. But getting around can be a pain. So we're checking out AVAWarp. It's like a player-run transport system. Kind of cool, right?
Definitely cool. I mean, think about it. You're in this huge virtual world, and suddenly you don't have to spend hours just traveling. Sounds pretty great.
That's the hope. So our big question here is this AVAWarp thing worth your time? If you're in Entropia Universe, should you be using this?
Like a deep dive guide to fast travel.
Exactly. So what gets this AVAWarp thing anyway?
Well, it's basically a service run by a player, a guy named Avalon, and he basically, warps you. You tell him where you want to go, and boom, you're there. VIP warp service, just like that.
A space taxi. That's a great way to put it.
I like it. But the coolest part is everyone's saying how reliable it is, which in an online game, trust is huge.
Absolutely. Got to be safe.
Right. And we see that over and over, there's this player, Ninu, they say it's the best way to travel, totally safe, and Avalon is super professional, friendly, the whole package.
I was going to say, are people happy with Avalon himself? Doesn't sound like you're just dealing with some random teleporting bot.
Oh no, he's very involved. Clearly he's built up a whole team around this.
A crew. Wow. What did he do?
That's what's so interesting. We don't have all the details, but it shows. They talk about how much AVAWarp lets them do stuff in the game, events, whatever. They're not wasting time traveling.
Smart.
Right. And then there's this player, Danger Magnet. All caps, very enthusiastic.
Oh, I got to hear this.
They just call it cheap. Straight to the point.
And that is a good sign. No one's complaining about cost. That says something.
Exactly. So Avalon's doing something right.
But okay, reliable, friendly, maybe cheap.
Yeah.
But how does this all work? How do you pay? Are there discounts? Is there a catch?
Well, get this. Avalon has this whole warp card thing, like a loyalty program. Every warp, you get a stamp on your virtual card.
Wait, a virtual card? That's kind of fun.
Right. Very clever. And new customers, they get 3 stamps right away. PLOS a bonus if Avalon had to pick you up from another planet.
Oh, so like a pickup fee thing. Makes sense.
Exactly. And 20 stamps get you a free warp. Encourages people to keep using it.
I mean, I'd be using it just for the card at this point. That's awesome. But, you mentioned pickup fees. So what's the actual cost of a normal warp?
Standard warp is 22 peds.
Peds being the Entropia Universe money, right?
That's it. But he's got this promotion going on, warp loading it's called.
Okay, warp loading? What is that? Sounds intense.
So on the planet Arcadia, there's this place called Sentosa's Reach. If you get globals there, you get discounted warps, only 10 peds each.
And a global, just so everyone's on the same page, that's when a player does something big. It's announced server-wide, like an achievement, basically.
Yep, exactly. So you're doing cool stuff in the game. A&D, getting cheap travel.
Win-win.
Right. And you can even have 3 of these loaded warps saved up at once. So if you're a super frequent traveler, that's a great deal.
So we've got reliability, friendly service, and a pretty good deal on the warps themselves. Anything else about how this AVAWarp runs?
Well, there's a few things that really stand out. People keep saying how responsive Avalon is. He'll drop what he's doing to warp you ASAP.
Wow, dedicated.
And there was this one player, Travis Chance Morgan, they specifically mentioned that Avalon uses Discord.
Ah, so you can just message him directly?
Yeah, for arranging the warp, making sure it's safe, all that. And apparently he's on there even when he's not actively in the game, so you can always reach out.
Always available. Very impressive.
Sounds like it, right?
It really does. So, okay, we've established this AVAWarp is reliable. Avalon seems like a great guy to deal with. And the pricing is, reasonable. And he's got a crew in a Discord. Anything else we're missing?
Oh, there's one more thing. Besides running this whole warp service, Avalon also streams on Twitch. He plays Lost Relics mostly, it seems.
Wait, so he's got this whole business going, A&D, he's streaming. That's dedication. Or maybe he's just got a lot of free time. Either way, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it shows he's really into gaming and clearly enjoys Entropia Universe enough to build this whole thing around it.
It really does make you wonder, what kind of impact does a service like this actually have on the whole Entropia Universe experience?
That's a great question, and one we'll have to delve into. It's not just about convenience with this AVAWarp. It's it changes what you can do in the game.
Oh, I see what you mean. Suddenly events on other planets are actually doable.
Exactly. Rare creatures, resources, whatever. No more spending half your time just getting there. And for Entropia, remember, time is kind of money.
All right, because the whole real cash economy thing.
Yeah.
So efficient travel equals more earning potential, in theory.
Precisely. It's a tool almost. You're reaching those high-value spots faster. AVAWarp becomes part of your strategy.
Fascinating. But we focused a lot on Avalon himself, but earlier you mentioned a crew. What's the deal with that? Is there more going on behind the scenes?
Right. There's this mention of an AVAWarp repair team. Someone, Michael Stewart, I think, they joined up. So there's organization here, structure.
Hold on, a repair team. What are they repairing? Spaceships? Teleporters? Any details?
Sadly, the sources are a bit vague on that, but it does make you wonder, what other roles are there? Marketing, maybe? Recruiters?
Customer service even. Is this like a whole virtual business empire we're talking about?
It really seems that way. And it highlights just how entrepreneurial players can be. They're not just playing, they're building entire systems within the game.
And that's got to have an impact on the game as a whole, right? Is it a good thing, a bad thing, or just a thing?
Good question. From what we're seeing, AVAWarp mostly makes the game better for a lot of players. Less grind, more options, community building. But there's always the flip side.
Like, does this give certain players too much of an advantage? If you can afford constant warps, you're ahead of the game, literally.
Exactly. Or maybe it changes how the game was meant to be played. Developers might not have intended for people to zip around quite so fast, unforeseen consequences and all that.
True. Though I gotta say, pretty much everyone we've seen talking about this is positive. So maybe the benefits outweigh the risks, at least so far.
Maybe the key is balance, right? Make sure these player-run services ADD to the game without breaking it or making it unfair.
That makes sense. It's like we're seeing a mirror of real-world stuff happening in this virtual world. Economies, services, even potential problems that come with them.
It shows how complex these games are becoming. More than just fun, they're little societies evolving in their own way. Players are shaping the world around them.
That brings us back to our main question then.
Yeah.
Is AVAWarp worth it?
Based on all this, I'd say absolutely yes. If you're in Entropia Universe and want a reliable, even FUN way to travel, go for it. Avalon's earned his reputation, and the players seem to love it.
And the warp card, the promotions, can't beat that. Plus, joining the Team Avaruptor Discord sounds like instant access to a community.
Exactly. People who get it, the appeal of exploring Entropia without the hassle.
We've talked a lot about Avalon, but could his Twitch stream be another way to learn about AVAWarp? Like see in action, maybe?
Oh, for sure. It lets you see his personality, how he plays. Could be reassuring for people who are, hesitant to trust a player-run service.
And maybe he's bringing new players into Entropia through the stream, too. One guy's passion leading to a whole chain reaction.
It's kind of beautiful, right? But speaking of Avalon, we focused on the what's of AVAWarp. I want to know the why. What drives him to do this?
That is a great question. It's got to be more than just making pets, right? There's a passion there, clearly. Maybe that's a story for our next segment. So, back to Avalon. What's the driving force, do you think? What makes someone build this whole warp empire?
It's got to be passion, right? At least partly. I mean, to stick with it, to build the reputation. That takes love for the game, for sure.
Plus the skills, Not everyone could put together something this organized. And in a game where time is literally money, maybe there's a bit of an entrepreneurial streak in Avalon too.
Oh, absolutely. But it feels like it's more than just profit. The way he interacts with people goes the extra mile. That's not just business. That's caring about your service, your community.
He's like the friendly neighborhood warp guy, which in a universe as big as Entropia, I bet people appreciate that. Someone reliable, they'll get where they need to go. And the Twitch stream adds to that, like putting a face to the name, building that trust.
It's human connection, even in this virtual world. And we see that over and over, right? Players aren't just numbers. They're forming these intricate relationships, economies, even hierarchies. Avalon's just one example of how that plays out.
Makes you wonder what LSE is out there, right? What other player-created services are we going to see? Entropia Airlines, delivery services, imagine that.
The possibilities are endless, really. As these games grow, the players will find ways to fill the gaps, build what they need. It's like watching a whole new economy unfold, and it's driven by the players themselves.
It's exciting. But for those out there who might still be on the fence about using something like AVAWarp, what would you say to convince them?
I'd say don't underestimate the power of player ingenuity. These services can be a game changer, literally. You're getting convenience, connection, solutions to problems the game itself might not even address.
And in AVAWarp's case, you've got tons of positive reviews, a guy who's clearly passionate about what he does, and a whole community built around it. What's not to love?
Exactly. So if you're in Entropia Universe, you want to get around quickly, safely, and maybe even make some friends along the way, give AVAWarp a shot. You can find all the info, contact Avalon through the link in our show notes. That's bit.ly/AVAWarp, all caps for the AVAW.
Who knows, maybe you'll become a regular on Avalon's routes, enjoying the ride, meeting cool people. It's all part of the experience. And it shows how these games are about so much more than just the game itself.
It's community, creativity, problem solving. It's players like Avalon who are making these worlds truly come alive.
And that's a great note to end on, I think. Another deep dive completed. Hopefully you've all learned something new today, whether you're an Entropia veteran or just curious about these amazing online worlds.
They're more than just games, they're evolving ecosystems. And we're here to explore them with you every step of the way.
So until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep those warp drives charged. This has been The Deep Dive, signing off.